Let's talk about one of the hottest topics right now, which is data science. In this unit, we will cover how data science can be leveraged for product managers, how much do you need to know, and how can you learn more about data science and how you can use it in your day-to-day life. Let's start with a simple example. So based on our metrics, we believe that, so we're talking about Dropbox. And based on our metrics, we believe that when a new user signs up for the first time on our product, it takes a lot of time to actually figure out what to do with it. Now, this is something easily measured with a tool like Mixpanel, Segment, or Intercom. We capture events that the user generates on the product and we measure the time it takes between the two subsequent events. In this case, the first event would be the login event, and the second could be any event action on the product. Right? So, for example, for Dropbox, the user has logged in and then uh, he has landed on the home page, but now it's completely blank, so he's unclear as to what to do. So to improve the time it takes for the user to start using the product, we decided to introduce an intro video. So when she logs on for the first time, that video explains what the product has to offer. Hopefully, by watching this video, the user will be more educated about the capabilities of the product, and the time it takes to start using it will be reduced. Right? That is the hypothesis that we have. Now we are comparing two funnels that are either created using two different groups of people for the same period, the new signups who saw the video and those who didn't. Or the product manager could use the same funnel for the signups that happened before the video was introduced. So far, the product manager has done the following. He has made an observation that it takes a lot of time to new signups to start using the product, made a hypothesis that a video would reduce the time. So most likely, the hypothesis is that the reason why people are taking a lot of time after signing up is because they're unclear about what the product offers. So that's why the hypothesis was that if we add a video, we should be able to reduce the time to activate. Then took some actions, which is implemented the feature of a video playing when you first sign up, and then figured out a way to see if it worked, created and compared the funnels. Right? So, so this entire exercise is basically hypothesis testing. And this is a basic concept in statistics. Okay, hypothesis testing is the use of statistics to determine the probability that a given hypothesis is true. Okay, and this is where the hypothesis testing uh, comes into picture for product manager as well. So hypothesis testing is the use of statistics to determine that a probability that a given hypothesis is true. And statistical hypothesis testing has 4 steps, and they are following. So you state the hypothesis and you define the null and alternative hypothesis. So you just don't say that, okay, I believe that by adding a video, users will be able to understand faster, and that's why they will activate earlier. Okay, that is the hypothesis. But you also have to define the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Then you formulate an analysis plan. That is, how do you figure out or how do you measure whatever you're hypothesizing, right? So find a test statistic suitable for your problem. That what exactly are you going to measure and how exactly are you going to measure it? Then you analyze the data and you compute the p-value based on the statistic you have chosen. There's a link in the speaker notes where I have explained where I've given a link to the video explaining p-value itself. It's a technical term used in statistics, a term that you need to understand. And then interpret your data. So compare the p-value to an acceptable significance value. So let me just pause and just explain what is p-value in a much more colloquial sense. So p-value essentially gives you um, explains to you whether the numbers or the data that you're seeing is trustable or not. What is the confidence of the results that you've seen? Okay, if the p-value is high, means basically you can trust it. Okay, versus if the p-value is low, then you should not be trust you should not trust the observation that you are seeing. Okay, I'll strongly recommend to watch the video that is given in the speaker notes. So once you have analyzed the data, then I will also suggest to interpret the data, which is compare the p-value to an acceptable significance value. And that is why there's a term called, there's a common phrase called statistically significant data, right? So you need to have, so when you're testing out some new experiment, or when you are trying to find some data about a particular user segment, just asking 5 people might not be sufficient. You need to ask enough people so that the data that you're getting or the pattern that you're observing is statistically significant, that enough people have said. And how do you determine that enough people? That is determined by the p-value of that particular survey, of the statistical experiment that you're running. So a small p-value indicates strong evidence against the null hypothesis, so you reject it. A large p-value indicates a weak evidence against the null hypothesis, so you fail to reject it. And p-values very close to the cutoff, which is 0.05, about 5%, are considered to be marginal, so could go either way, so you will not trust it. So you'll typically look for very, very large p-values like 0.08, 0.09 of sorts. Right? So now the above might scare you a bit, but at the end, it's the formal way statistics offer to do the same steps that the product manager did. Let's see how they relate. The null hypothesis is the mean time between two funnel steps for the case where the video is not played to the new sign up. Okay, let me just repeat this. Uh, the null hypothesis is the mean time between the two funnel steps for the case where the video is not played to the new sign up. Okay. The alternative hypothesis is that the mean time after the video is introduced will be smaller. Right? This is exactly what the product manager is also measuring by comparing the two funnels we described earlier. So instead of creating the funnels, a statistician, based on the nature of the events that are measured, would choose a statistic and use that to calculate the p-values also for step 3. Here we are getting a bit technical, but actually it's just a different tool that substitutes the funnels, nothing else. So instead of comparing the mean times directly and making a more qualitative assessment, we are using the p-value and another threshold to see if the hypothesis is likely to be true or not. Now we need to pay close attention to the word likely. When the product manager uses the funnels, she is actually making a qualitative assessment of the validity of the hypothesis. It is not anything certain, but if, for example, a big difference between the mean times is observed, she will feel comfortable to say that it was a right choice to introduce a video. If again the difference is marginal, she will go back on the whiteboard with the team to figure out new ways of fixing the problem they have. When we use statistics, we again use the word likely again. There is no absolute certainty in the results. Right? The major difference between what the product manager was doing and these statistical techniques is that this certainty or lack of it is quantified and produced by a total controlled process. Yes, there are quite a few new words introduced, but hopefully I managed to show you the affinity of the statistical techniques and the everyday life of someone who is not a statistician. Of course, the product manager will not do the work of a data scientist and start using chi-square and students tests or write down confidence intervals instead of product roadmaps, but at least by understanding how the arsenal of a data scientist is related to our work will help us to embrace it and feel more comfortable with what is it has to offer and also its limitations. That's the whole idea behind this particular unit. So to conclude, I just gave you an example of uh, how different statistical terminologies are used by product managers, and if you understand p-value and some of these important concepts, you will be much more comfortable and you will be much more confident. Okay, so that's it for now. See you in the next session.